Hello, everybody. I am David Green, host of The David Green Show, joined today by the leader of the David Green team, SoCal, Lindsay Eichkirka. And we are going to be talking about shady schemes that loan officers use to get your money, and not only what they're doing, but why they do it, how you make yourself vulnerable to it happening to you, and the literal specific things that they do. This is coming from me speaking from experience because I own a mortgage company, the One Brokerage, and we have seen shady loan officers doing this to our clients. We are committed to working with integrity. Not everybody is. And if I'm being completely honest with you, it doesn't always benefit you to always work from integrity because sometimes the liars win. And we're going to share how loan officers have figured out to win by lying and how sometimes you can be putting yourself in a bad position by falling for the lies. I think that everyone can relate to this, right? Like everyone's been single at some point and had someone that was like, look, I'm going to shoot straight with you. This is what I'm looking for and this is what I want. And someone else that was like, oh girl, I'm going to give you the moon. If you had a guy like me, your life would be a Nicholas Sparks romance novel all the time.
You're
right?
triggering me.
And how it's triggering. That's exactly right. If only someone had made a YouTube video and taught you. These are the games that guys on Tinder are playing. We're exposing the Tinder swindlers of the mortgage industry today on the David Green Show. Lindsay, how is your day going today?
It is actually going really well. We listed another property today, so that's great. I was in a court confirmation for a probate listing. That was very interesting. So got to experience that and then have 4 in contract. So just trying to get people to the closing line and keep deals together. So it's been good. Good day.
All right. Where do you work? Where do you sell houses?
So I sell a house in Southern California, born and raised. So Orange County, LA County mostly, but we serve Ventura County all the way into San Diego, Riverside, San Bernardino counties as well. So Southern California is my turf.
So if y'all know Lindsay, sorry, let me say that differently. If y'all know anyone in Southern California, you live there, you have friends or family that lives there, take down Lindsay's email. It's on the screen right here. She's the one you want to hit up if you want to know what your house is worth. If you're trying to figure out who could represent you buying or selling a house, Lindsay is the best agent I know to go with. Lindsay, before we get started, can you just double check your settings and see if it's picking up the correct microphone or if it might be picking up your laptop? It's a StreamYard thing, I think, because when I logged into StreamYard myself while you're checking, I noticed that it tried to use a different camera than I normally use. So I think when you log into this app that lets us live stream, it switches your default settings for how you record.
It did switch it, and now I switch it back to my mic.
Oh, that is so much better. This is why we got the people saying it was never the mic. It was the freaking app that used a different one. You sound buttery.
That's weird.
Buttery smooth. All right. Victor Jonathan in the comments says, hey, David, do you have anyone that I can JV with in Ohio? I believe he means joint venture. Victor, I am super hesitant about doing that. Like in general, the only people that I think should be partnering in real estate have a lot of experience already doing it. And they're the ones that are not looking to JV as much. I know that many gurus will tell you, don't have any money, don't have any skills, don't have any knowledge, don't have any clue. Find somebody else that does and partner up. And all that usually does is create twice the mistakes and twice the chaos. So I'm not as big of a fan of that. Of course, in specific cases, it can be good. So don't let that discourage you if you know you're good. But oftentimes I find that people are only looking to JV because they're not ready to be investing themselves. And they're hoping that their partner can make up for all the things that they don't know. And the partner wouldn't be JVing if they knew it. They would be doing it themselves. So now you get 2 people that both shouldn't be doing this, amplifying their screw up. So unless I know you really well, I'm going to advise most people to avoid the JV. All right, Lindsay, throwing this to you. Can you kind of set the table for us about this client that you had, the loan officer that they were going to be using, the concerns the client had, what they did with those concerns? This is a very common story that anyone that's bought a house can relate to.
Yeah, definitely. And we see this no matter what the market's doing. So right now we know rates are on the downward trend, which is great. Everyone's ready for that. But this happens no matter what the market's doing. If the rates are flat, if they're going up, they're going down, we always run into this. So this is a repeat client of mine and a great client, upgrading from a townhome to a multifamily. We're really excited for him. And he's working with with our team. He's working with the One Brokerage and been pre-approved for a while. We took our time, finding the perfect property, got our offer accepted over several offers. A lot of work went into this. And he unfortunately got pinged and targeted by the bait and switch lenders. So this happens all the time. Once a buyer is under contract, their content information can be sold by these credit companies once their credit's pulled, and they can get hit up by other bottom of the barrel loan officers that are going to try to encourage them or entice them to go with them because of a lower rate. And we see this often. And sometimes they will get a lower rate and a better deal. And other times they are just getting deceived. And so it's helpful when you have an agent that can look at your situation objectively and say, hey, here's my concern, or you are getting a better deal. It might be worth switching. And we had that conversation too. So this particular client was looking to save money. Rates were going down. He asked my honest opinion on 2 different loan estimates that he had. And I was able to help him come to the decision that it was better to stick with where he was. The original lender locked in the loan versus trusting this other lender that just pinged him and targeted him. So he made the decision. I guided him to it. So I hope that people who are watching this can see some tactics that these bait and switch lenders are using so they can be prepared for it. And agents too. If you're an agent, you should know how to look at this so you can help your clients also decide for themselves what is the better situation for them to go with.
Oh yeah, agents need to be eating this stuff up. If you know a real estate agent in your life and you're listening to this video, send it to them because they don't get this training. Their brokers are not sharing it. Frankly, their brokers don't know either. Brokers are usually completely consumed with compliance issues and trying to not get sued, not training agents how to sell houses. So it doesn't get shared. What you just said about the credit card companies selling the client's information to other loan officers who then come in and try to undercut the current loan officer reminded me of a meme I saw the other day. So people will get this call out of the blue and their first thought is, it must be a sign from God. I'm going to get a house. A loan officer showed up saying they can get me a better deal. Thank my lucky stars. I need to look into this. And the meme said, it was like this little kid asking his dad, how did you pull a dime piece like mommy or something like that? And the dad said, oh, on our first date, I learned she was into astrology. So I used to text her at 11:11 every single day that I was thinking of her. Because in that world, that's considered like an angelic number. Right.
Yes.
And so the thought here is like, she's assuming that this is like her angels telling her, I need to pay attention to this guy. But it was actually kind of nefarious that he figured out that's how she thinks. And that is exactly what happens in these cases is you have a loan officer that in most cases came referred by a real estate agent that in most cases has sold houses to other people, has had some trial and error that has got to the point that they believe this is a good loan officer that's honest, trustworthy, can do their job, can get things done, isn't ripping you off. So they've been vetted. You now get a completely unvetted person entering into the thing with their smooth game, right? So you're out on a date with someone that your friend said, this is a good guy. I've known him for years. I think you'd like him. And then he gets up to go to the bathroom and the smooth talking brother comes right up next to you. And he's like, hey girl, what's a girl like you doing in a place like this? And what's your sign? And she's going to be thinking, oh, wow, like 2 guys, which one of them wants me more? Who's the better guy here? Let's see which one of them wants to fight for me. And it usually doesn't cross the woman's mind that the motives of the person fighting for her are not always good. They're not all the same. And that's exactly what happens with this second loan officer that comes in who says, well, tell me what your current loan officer offered you and I will do something better. And so Lindsay had a situation like that specifically with her client, with another loan officer that came along and he was like, what do I do? Because I'm being told that this other person is cheaper than the person you recommended, which makes your client feel like you weren't looking out for them. Like you're maybe trying to rip them off. Some people think kickbacks happen in this industry. That happened before Dodd-Frank. I think to this day, it does not happen at all. Your realtor is not allowed to receive any form of compensation from anybody that is going to be sending them business, and loan officers are definitely not allowed to receive compensation from someone. So there is no kickbacks. Most realtors just want to know the deal's going to freaking close. That's our concern, is like, how are they going to screw this thing up? So why don't you share the story of how this happened and then what you did to solve this problem?
Yeah. So essentially, let's just say 3 days into escrow, and the client that we're under contract with gets a call from the loan officer saying, hey, I can get you this interest rate, right? And highlights it and makes it seem like he's going to be saving about 20 grand in cash to close and getting a better rate. So speaking of 2 pain points of a buyer in escrow, a better interest rate and lower cash to close. Who doesn't want to save money, and who doesn't want a better rate? So of course they're going to say, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead, send me what you got. Thankfully, this client is a repeat client, and he knew better from what I've told him in the past, and he knew to ask for a loan estimate. So if you're a realtor or if you're a buyer, you need to ask for a loan estimate. That's the major key factor here. Not a quote from a lender, a loan estimate. A loan estimate will give a breakdown of what the fees are, what the rate is, what your estimated monthly payment is, not just simply a, hey, I can get you a fill in the interest rate for this much money. And then you're saying, oh, great. Yeah, that sounds better. Let me switch over. Don't do anything without a loan estimate. And then give that loan estimate to someone that you trust. Hopefully it's your realtor, or it could be the other lender, right? And have them look at it and just say, hey, what do you see here? Is this a good deal? Am I getting ripped off? If a lender just sends you a quote and won't send anything further, not even worth a further conversation with them. That's not legit. If they're going to send you a loan estimate, it's at least a little bit better. And we can look and see what their fees are to see if you're getting ripped off or if they actually can give you a better deal. So this client of mine sent me the loan estimate that this other lender sent over to him. I compared it with a loan estimate that our current lender has. And here's another thing too. Usually realtors don't see the loan estimates, right? We're not required or obligated to see them. We're not a part of the financing. So it has to be sent over to me. So if you're a realtor, just know, or if you're a buyer, your realtor is not getting your loan estimates automatically. So if you want them to look at it, make sure you're sending it over to them. But I look at 2 loan estimates and I found some very obvious to me differences being an investor myself, owning real estate, buying and selling lots of houses, helping clients buy and sell houses for 9 years now. I saw some very obvious discrepancies that other buyers wouldn't. And when I pointed out those discrepancies to him, it was clear where he should go. And we were able to save the deal.
Okay, a few things about these loan estimates, and guys, stick around because we're going to show you very shortly what a loan estimate actually looks like and what Lindsay looked at, where she was able with her experienced eye to pick out where the money was being hidden, how the shell game was being played. A few things to know about them. There is a universal form that all conventional lenders are required to use when they're doing their loans. Now, this is not every single lender that's out there at all, because it's still a free market and lenders can do what they want. But when you have a conventional loan, the government is involved in insuring these loans and buying them so that lenders keep making loans. You can keep getting money to buy real estate. So the companies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, you may have heard of them before. They're really government-sponsored enterprises more than companies, but potato. They are involved in buying these loans. And when we say conventional loan, we're talking about a loan that goes through that process, as well as FHA and VA loans. Now, most loans you'll get to buy real estate will be that type. And so this loan estimate that we're going to show you is a standard form that they're all going to use. So if you understand what you're looking at, it will empower you to make good decisions with your lenders. Now, not only are we going to show you the form and how to read it, which I think is very helpful, but we are also going to help you know what to look for, where they are allowed to fudge numbers, and where they have to be straightforward. So some fees on a loan, they know exactly what they're going to be, like your interest rate. Other fees on a loan, they are estimating because the lender doesn't control it. The title and escrow, the cost of an appraisal, different things that could go into this, that a third party is going to come up with their fee that the lender doesn't control. But the lender is the one reporting this to you on a loan estimate, so they have to put something, and they're just going to give an estimate. Well, what do you think that there might be a cheaper way to lower the number they're giving you on the things that they can't control and they can't get in trouble for? Which, if you're not looking at this thing very closely, because most people won't, you're just looking at the end result, and it looks a lot lower if they estimated lower fees than you're actually getting. So we're going to show you some of these tricks. Lindsay's basically going to walk you through the entire thing that she looked at, so that A, if you're buying a house yourself, you could do the same thing that Lindsay's doing. B, if you're using Lindsay or anyone on the David Green team to help you buy a house, you can know this is what we're doing for you. And C, I had a C. I know that there was a C. What was my C? Oh, if you don't use one of us and you have a different real estate agent, you can tell them, hey, mofo, this is what you should be doing. This is what David Green teaches. Step up your game. And if they're not stepping up your game, which we're going to call it D, you can do it yourself. Ready, Lindsay?
I'm ready. So I'm going to share the screen right here. I'm going to show you first the one that looks good. Okay. So in this particular case, the One Brokerage is a broker, right? So they are able to broker out the loan depending upon who has a better rate, the loan type, all that good stuff. Rocket Mortgage is one of I think 70 something odd lenders that the One Brokerage can broker out to. So this is just an example of what worked best for this client and the kind of house that he was purchasing. So in this case, this is a few days ago. So rates have gone down since then. But he got an interest rate of 6.125. And we're looking at the principal and interest. This ultimately here, your payment calculation, this gives you what your estimated monthly payment will be at this interest rate, right? This is 6.125. We'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see it better. Okay. So what we really want to be looking at here is with different interest rates, what is your P&I, your principal and interest, right? Because ultimately, these other items here, the mortgage insurance, because he's putting 5% down. Remember, we got 5% down on multifamily now, which is amazing. We're helping clients house hack, and it's fantastic here in Southern California. These are estimates, right? So the One Brokerage, what they do is they overestimate what the additional payments are going to be, where other lenders are going to come in trying
Lindsay,
to
we're
look like
not
a better
sharing
deal.
the screen. Sorry to.
Am I not sharing the
Sorry
screen?
to jump in there. I may be the one that needs to do it. I just tried to add it. But yeah,
Okay.
someone's saying they can't see the screen, and then I don't see it either.
Here, what I'll do, David, I'm going to forward you both of these so that you can.
So when you shared it, it's just not showing up, you think?
Although
I did click add to studio, and it didn't show up when I did it either. So I think what happened is you shared it. Try it again. Try to share your screen. I think it shows up in my backstage. And then I'll see if I can share it. If that doesn't work, I'll just have you send it to me.
Sure thing. I have the email drafted in case it doesn't work again.
We have got the best listeners in the world pointing that out to us.
No kidding.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh, where did my... Hold on a second, guys. Sorry.
Hello, Romy. Nice to see you here. D. Judds says he can't see it too. Awesome. Matthew Powell asking good questions, asking who the loan was brokered through. That was probably my first cue. There we go. Okay, let me see if I can add this now. There we go. Now we can probably see. Everybody confirm. You should be able to see this. So you have to share it, Lindsay, and then from there I have to share it because I'm the admin or whatever. So there we go. You want to start over?
I can start over for sure. So again, this is what a loan estimate looks like. Okay. So it should be not just a quote. It's going to say loan estimate on it. Like I said, in this case, Rocket Mortgage was being brokered through the One Brokerage, several options of lenders that they can use depending on the rate, terms, property type, all that good stuff. But here, this is the best option for the client. So 6.125% interest rate. They have gone down since then. We're looking at your monthly principal and interest, which is basically your P&I, right? So at 6.125%, his estimated principal and interest at 5% down was going to be $59.16. So the principal and interest is unchanged. The lender cannot control that in their loan estimates. That's going to spit out the interest rate, purchase price, down payment. That's fixed essentially, right? So we're looking at this. Lender cannot control that. What the lender can control in terms of their loan estimate are these additional items, which in this case, mortgage insurance, because he's putting less than 20% down. So he has PMI or MI, mortgage insurance, and estimated escrow, which this is taxes and insurance, right? So LA County, we got a high tax rate. We got a high insurance in LA County as well. So ultimately about $13.67 per month is pretty accurate. And the One Brokerage is going to be honest and almost overestimate what those payments are going to be so that the buyer is over-prepared, not under-prepared, and they know really what they're going to be paying. So ultimately, The estimate from Rocket Mortgage, or from the One Brokerage brokering through to Rocket, is 76.89, right? At 6.125% interest rate, we have $1,025,000 purchase price, 5% down. One important thing to note too is that if you look up here at the top, it's rate locked, right? Rate's locked. That's important because if it's not locked, if they check no there, it is subject to change. So just be mindful of that. If you have a loan estimate, but it's not locked, it can change. And then the lender goes, oh, I don't know. That was yesterday's rate. That was yesterday's fees.
Yeah.
Now today is different.
Right.
That's one tactic they use often. You want it to be locked. So 76.89 as an option, as a estimate from the One Brokerage. Very realistic. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go to the next one so you can see what this other
while you're working on that. If you guys were wondering why the interest rate was 6.125, they move around a lot. So they've come down from where they were. But even if you're not thinking about that, they also are flexible. So not every lender is going to offer the same rates, and lenders can make it sound like their rate is lower than it actually is. And Lindsay's going to describe what they can do to do that in a second here. So boom, There we go. Here is the competitor.
Here's the competitor. So again, sales price, $1,025,000. Now they got 5.875% interest rate, and they're claiming it's with no points, right? Meaning that's not buying the rate down. That is par pricing. Par pricing means it doesn't cost you any more money to get that interest rate, according to this lender. But look at the difference. So we had 59.16 principal and interest, right? With 6.125, 57.60. So he's saving about $150 by lowering from 6.125 down to 5.875. Again, the lender cannot alter that, right? It's based on the interest rate, purchase price, down payment. That's it. So principal and interest on this competitor, 57.60. So $150 per month difference is pretty compelling, right? Worth looking into a little bit, I guess. Here's where it got interesting. Mortgage insurance is half.
Yeah.
Instead of 406, at 203. And then the estimated escrow, which is your taxes and insurance, is $750 per month. Any Californians in the chat? Do we pay more than $750 per month for interest?
On $1 million house, basically, right? You're talking about a $973,000 loan balance. That's going to be very high taxes.
100%.
And insurance.
Now, if you remember, the estimated total monthly payment on the other loan estimate was $7,600 per month. Now we're looking at $6,713. So to a buyer who doesn't understand what he's looking at, he's thinking, oh my gosh, I'm saving like $1,000 a month. No, you're not. These two things are estimated, right? So these were estimated, and the lender's going to say, oh, I didn't have the exact figures. I was just estimating. Well, you can easily look up what the tax rate is in LA, right? We know insurance premiums are higher in California than that. Okay. So he's just trying to make it look on the surface that the buyer would be saving cheaper. About $1,000.
Yes.
He's cheaper, and that the buyer will save money every month by going with this.
And a lot of buyers don't know. They don't understand that the taxes and the escrows and the mortgage insurance and stuff, that those are like locked in, that the lender doesn't actually get to choose what the title and escrow, the taxes and the insurance are going to be. Now, there's no penalty for putting an estimate and getting it wrong. You're allowed to make a mistake as a human. But what you and I see with experienced guys is they know they're coming in and they have to beat your existing terms on a loan estimate. So they're going to do all of these things to make it look cheaper. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be considered in the race. And if you're not experienced in looking at this, you might just think, oh, if I go with this person, my taxes and my insurance are lower. Right? And I'm also curious how they got away with that mortgage insurance being exactly 50% of what it was before, when I'm assuming that the loan balance was the same. So the down payment's the same.
Yeah. They just claim they're cheaper. That's all I say. I got quoted that today by who I ran it through. But what they can fudge the most.
Let's pull that up again.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a little bit more that we can go through. So here's an example, guys. What would happen if you...
I got more.
Oh, you had, okay.
I have more for sure.
Is it on a different loan estimate that you wanted to share, or is it on this one?
Oh, this one. We can pull this back up again.
Okay.
We have a lot more to go through
Yeah.
to help people see where things are hidden. I was trying to give them a break for a second. But yeah. What else did you want to dive into in this one?
Well, the first point was, if they are incorrect in their assumptions about your estimated escrow and everything, there's no penalty for them. They don't get in trouble. What will happen in practicality is that you will get to the closing table and you will have been running in your head that because I switched to this other loan officer, I'm only going to pay $750 a month for estimated escrow, because you don't even know what that means a lot of the time. And then you're going to get told it's $1,400, and you're going to say, how is my mortgage $700 more, $750 more than what I thought it was going to be? And like, it is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. The title and the escrow company actually figure that out, and they tell you this is what you owe to the state and this is what your insurance came in at. And at that point, your only recourse would be to say, screw it, I don't want to sign, I'm not going to buy the house. Your earnest money is at risk. You're at risk of the seller suing you for going back on the contract at the last minute. You've already spent a bunch of money on home inspections and appraisals and pest inspections, and you probably packed up all the stuff in your house and you've hired a U-Haul. Like, it's a massive thing. It's not a small deal. And these predatory dudes know you're going to hate them, but they're going to get paid. And in this case, they're going to get paid a lot, because this is a big chunky loan, $973,000. And they're going to be laughing at you because you're stupid. And you went for the guy that slid up next to you in the bar that said, hey, girl, I'm the man of your dreams. And so if people don't know what to look for, this is easy to get taken advantage of. And I'll turn it back over to you, Lindsay, because I think that there's some more things on the loan estimate that people should keep an eye out for.
Yeah, there definitely is. So on top of just the estimated monthly payment being significantly lower than the other one, but we now know why, it will be pretty much the same as what the One Brokerage disclosed to the buyer. But right now, he's wondering if he should switch. He's seeing basically $1,000 difference in the mortgage payment per month. So that's compelling. So if we dive deeper into this, now we look at the estimated cash to close. Here we got $50,004. Remember that's about 50 grand from this lender, the predatory lender, to close. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pull up the other one to show you the difference and what that cash to close would be
from the original quote.
And we'll see what the difference is and how they came up with that, why they're so vastly different. Okay.
Guys, if you like this information, make sure that you like the video and share it with somebody. If this is never something that you've seen before and you did not know that you needed to see it, and if this is something you're not used to hearing or being taught, make sure you subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, definitely. So David, can you share screen one more time? There we go. So I pulled up One Brokerage estimate again. Now we can see, or the $76.89 per month. Look at the cash to close here. So instead of $50,000, we got $76,557. So the buyer is seeing a lower monthly payment and lower cash to close, thinking, oh my gosh, it's a no-brainer. I must switch. And I'm like, hold on. Let's dive into this. Let's look at here. So the next thing we want to look over here is on the next page, prepaids. So this is an area that's very easy for the lender to fudge around and make their cash to close look more appealing than the current lender that you might have. So I'll break this down. Essentially, prepaid interest, what that is if you close in the middle of the month, you have to prepay the interest on that loan for the remaining days in that month. Because let's say that you close on October 1st, you don't have a mortgage payment due until the following month, right? Well, you have to prepay the interest when you close on that loan. So the minimum that a lender can put here to be legal is 1 day of prepaid interest. So that's what this lender did. This predatory lender put, no, I'm sorry. We're looking at One Brokerage first. This is, do you want me to go back and show? No, here, we'll just stick with this one.
Yeah. Well, you could show what it is, and then we'll go show what the other person claims. So on this one, what did the One Brokerage show for prepaid interest they should expect for?
This is what a good lender should do. This is what the One Brokerage should do. This is what a lender should do. Okay. They estimated for 29 days, saying, hey, if we close in the first of the month, you're going to pay 29 days, up to 29 days of prepaid interest. Here's the maximum you would pay in that, $4,800 for prepaid interest.
So you can prepare for the worst case scenario.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So 29 days of prepaid interest, just disclosing, overestimating, because we're going to close in the early part of the month, like the 6th or 7th of October. So over disclosing with 29 days is a way to go. So $4,800 in prepaid interest being estimated or disclosed to be on the safe side. And then property taxes. We have, let's see, our property taxes right here, right? 12 months. It's prepaid property taxes for your escrow account, or impounds they call it, $6,400 a month. So just right there alone, you got, $12,000 essentially in additional closing costs. So just that alone is changing that. So we disclosed that, or the One Brokerage disclosed that on their loan estimate. Now let's go back and look at the predatory lender and see what they put. Again, this is stuff that I can see. This is stuff that, well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, your husband works at the One Brokerage. He's a loan officer with us. So Lindsay gets insight into what goes on in loans, as well as what goes on when buying houses. Her husband, Ryan, gets insight into what goes on buying houses, as well as what goes on in the financing, which is one of the reasons that we believe very strongly that your loan officer and your real estate agent need to understand each other's jobs and work with each other, as opposed to having complete strangers that get thrown in together. When you're not working with someone together, what happens is they point fingers. The loan officer says, your agent screwed this up. They should have got you an extension. I didn't have enough time. It's not my fault. I didn't order the appraisal. They make a bunch of excuses and say your agent should never have written that contract. They shouldn't have shortened your contingency periods. They should have negotiated something. You're like, why are my origination costs so high? Well, your agent should have got a credit from the seller. Everybody gets that. And now you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Then you go to your agent, and your agent blames the loan officer. They should have had this loan done before. They never got the appraisal scheduled. They were supposed to tell you what they were supposed to need. And you as the client don't know who to listen to. Both of them sound right. This happens a lot when you're a real estate agent and you're in this position. Everyone wants to blame everyone else. And if you don't buy a house very often, which most people don't, you don't know who to listen to, as opposed to when your loan officer and your agent are working together. Not only do they anticipate problems from working together all the time, and they can explain each other's positions, but they support each other. They negotiate together to get you the house, and they don't point the fingers. So I'll let you now jump in and explain how the opposition made their deal look way cheaper.
Really quick little note on that, with since my husband is loan officer now, funny story. He claims I'm the hardest agent to work with. He gets afraid, sweaty palms when we have a deal together, because he knows I will call him out. And I think I know some of the lenders in the One Brokerage trying to feel the same way. You can't BS me, right? I call it out, and I'm like, no, whose mistake was that? No, that should have been called out first. So they don't like me, which is good for the buyer, because I can make sure. I can make sure
I can just
that
imagine the dinner table when he missed something, or a processor didn't follow up, and you're just chewing your chicken, staring at him. Whose fault was it, Ryan?
I have grace, right? But I'm also proactive.
Of
That's another
course.
thing,
Yes.
Anyway,
We assume the worst. We don't assume the best. That's exactly right.
Well, yeah, it's good for a lender to not be able to BS the realtor, right? The realtor needs to be able to keep it in check. So in any case, I just thought it was a funny story. So again, going back to what a predatory lender does all the time to buyers to entice them, look at this. So we said earlier, remember, the prepaids are things that the lender can fudge when it comes to the total cash to close. Well, we got prepaid interest here. They only did for 1 day, as if we're closing on the 29th of the month. They're disclosing the bare minimum that they can. Remember, the last estimate was $4,800 for prepaid interest at the high end. They're saying, oh, only $157.
It's a massive difference.
Massive
You're talking about $4,700. And when you look at on the bottom, which we're going to get to, the total closing costs, one of those estimates would be literally $4,500 lower than the other, only from that one thing, not including all the other ways that they were kind of without integrity making their claims here. But when you're looking at, well, I could pay $29,000 or I could pay $34,000. Easy answer. Sorry, One Brokerage. I appreciate you, but they're cheaper. And you think that all the way up to the closing table when you find out that that is not true and it might actually be more expensive. So I was a little surprised when you shared this to see that the One Brokerage went 29 days of prepaid interest. Worst case scenario, this is what you should plan to pay because we don't know when you're going to close. And if it's less, you save that money versus the competitor that said 1 day of prepaid interest, $157. I also noticed that they put the interest rate at 5.875 when we had quoted at 6.125. A couple things of note there. Rates are kind of coming down. So if their quote came after ours, theirs is going to look lower, but ours could have been lower. Another thing, it might not actually be 5.875. They might have maxed out your closing costs, like the fees that you're paying and points to make it look like you're getting one, where we could have done the same thing, but we would have told you it's going to cost you another $6,500 to get that. And the client said, I need it that bad. I'll stick with 6.125. Well, then you go to someone else and what do you say? What's your rate? And they go, oh, well, the lowest rate I could possibly offer you with $24,000 in closing costs would be 5.7. Well, that's way better than 6.1. And you don't know how to read this loan estimate that we're showing right now. It's just look at all these numbers. It's like alphabet soup in here. You can't tell what you're looking at, right? So lenders know that. They hide it in there. They get you to sign it with a DocuSign that they just like click through this type of a thing. They can say they've disclosed it to you. And when do you find out? When you don't have a way to back out of the deal.
It gets better with what this predatory lender omitted. Look again under prepaids right here. Huh?
Spill the tea.
They're acting like property taxes don't exist. Where's the balance? Right? The One Brokerage had like $6,000.
They just left it off.
They just left it blank. Pay no attention to the property taxes.
Oh my gosh.
Yo.
So there's 6,000 of property taxes they just leave off and about 4,700. That's almost $10,500. More than that, $10,700. That on the total closing costs, it doesn't show up. That's complete BS.
Yep. They also are claiming they're not charging origination fees. They're also claiming they're not doing all these different things. So they're labeling their fees to be whatever they want to make it look like they are cheaper. And they're just going to tack it all on the final CD. This is the initial loan estimate. The final closing disclosure will look very much like this, but the values will be different as they've adjusted. And they'll say, oh, so well, yeah. What? Yeah.
So part of the process is a loan company gives you a loan estimate if you ask for it, which is what we're looking at right now, which is supposed to be in good faith. Obviously, you see that they can fudge those numbers with several of the things that we've shown. Yeah. Legally, though, they actually have to give you what's called a closing disclosure. The CD is what we refer to it as, which is like set in stone. This is what you are going to be paying at the closing table. Unless escrow is delayed. If it's delayed, it could go up even more because your taxes go up and your insurance could go up or whatever. So that has to be signed by the client, and it's supposed to be very similar to the loan estimate. But as you just saw, they don't have any property taxes. They have the least amount of prepaid interest ever. They showed a lower interest rate, and they're not showing what the person's paying for it. They had mortgage insurance at half of what it would probably actually be. What else do we have? They have title and escrow at about 60% of where, that's crazy. The difference that person's going to be coming out of pocket with. And we hear this all the time as people in the business. If you're an agent listening to this and you've done enough deals, you've seen this yourself. Guaranteed they have seen the client calls the agent in tears, pissed off, confused. Usually they're mad at the agent. Why didn't you tell me? Like, that's always what happens is you're relying on your agent to be your interpreter of these things. And now you're stuck. We've waived all our contingencies. Our deposit is completely at risk. We've spent all this money. The notary is sitting in front of you right now. The escrow company is waiting to take this to the county's office and have it recorded in your name. The moving trucks are packed and you are upset because the information on here isn't accurate. But ultimately, and this is kind of coming full circle, like you just said, Lindsay, about when someone makes a mistake, the client chose that loan officer. They picked a person who came in, swooped in when they were on a date with somebody else, waited till the guy was in the bathroom, promised you the world, snuck your number, hit you up outside of it, convinced you to leave your man who thought that he could, be honest with you because they were safe. and was able to tell you this story that made you think that this is going to be a Hallmark movie, and you find out at the end that it's not, and no one goes on podcasts to talk about this.
Right.
Nobody makes a YouTube video saying, I just got taken advantage of, I'm an idiot. They don't do it. They just hold it inside and get bitter and say, I hate real estate agents and I hate loan officers. They just get angry at the world, but it doesn't actually get shared. I mean, have you seen some of these stories too?
Always. Oh, yeah. And the unfortunate thing is, to your point, like when you're at the closing table and like, what are you going to do? Right? Are you going to back out of the deal? Are you going to, put your earnest money deposit at risk? Like Kelly just said here, yeah, due diligence days are long gone. We've removed loan contingency. Your investigation time is over. Unfortunately, as agents, what we have to be okay with is the fact that the ultimate client experience falls on our shoulders. Your agent has to take full responsibility of the client experience. And so if we don't know how to guide the client into the financing and help them determine which one is a better deal. I have looked at 2 loan estimates and I'm like, yeah, this lender is getting a better deal. You should go with that one. Or sometimes I'm like, this is worse, or, whatever the case may be. If we don't know how to walk a client through that decision so they can come up to it on their own, because again, we don't get kickbacks for whatever loan officer they choose. We just want them to close the deal. And I told the client, if we switch, I don't think this is, even if this was like, the estimates weren't bad, let's say they were on par and you still were just getting a 5.875 over 6.125 and the cash to close was good. Let's just say, you were kind of getting a better rate. My fear is that I have less negotiating power for you as your agent if we piss off the seller and the listing agent and ask for an extension of the loan contingency. You got lots of buyers behind you whose offers did not get accepted, right? And they're calling the listing agent every day. Is the buyer performing? Is the buyer performing? I'm going to have a harder time negotiating seller credits, negotiating other things during the transaction if the loan side of it is rocky, or if we switch. I could present a case to the agent of, hey, listen, the buyer is saving this much money per month. They're getting a much better rate. It's saving them $10,000 in closing costs. So I don't have to ask your seller for a seller credit anymore. They can make the repairs themselves. If I complete a case that's compelling, that's a different story. If it's nickel and diming, especially right now, we're telling clients like, hey, listen, rates are on the downward trajectory. Don't buy a house that you cannot afford. Be okay with this monthly payment for a while, but we know you're going to be refinancing. Let's get the deal done. Let's get you the best value. Let me negotiate for you as best as I can. It's a lot harder to do that if we switch lenders a week or 2 into escrow. So there's a lot at play here, and agents have to be okay to walk their client through that process, understand they're trying to get them the best deal and be on their side, but present the information objectively so that the client can realize on their own who the better choice is. Because I don't want them feeling like I'm just pushing my lender on them. That's not the case. I want them to get the house.
Of course. And that's the danger of them thinking there's kickbacks, because now they're not going to trust your counsel because they think it's coming biased. And it's the danger of them thinking that rate's the only thing that matters. Because when you're saying who's the best lender for them, if you don't know all of the moving pieces that go into this, your assumption would be whoever is the cheapest rate. These loan officers that we're talking about are desperate for business. Many times they're not going to be able to make their rent or their mortgage. They're hurting. They may have been honest people in the past and they're not right now. And this is the schemes that they will use. If they know that the thing you care about is rate, they're going to come in and they're going to not tell you that your closing costs are incredibly high to get that rate. You got the rate you wanted. Just like when I'm buying houses, I know most sellers are egomaniacs and all they care about is the price for their house. I've done this all the time, where they want $500,000. We agree verbally to like for 80 or something like that. And I'll offer them 490 with $20,000 in closing costs. So I'm really getting it for 470, and they'll take that over a higher offer or over a lower offer that would have netted them more money. They're looking at the wrong thing. So this happens. And here's another piece that people don't realize about loan officers. The lower the rate they're giving you, assuming that they're not playing the shell game with these fees, like we're talking about increasing your closing costs, the less compensation they're making. Okay. So if you want to get a better rate on your loan, the only honest way to do that is to get a loan officer that gets paid less. First off, that's why they lie, because they don't want to get paid less. Second off, if they're willing to completely just go bare bones to get you the lowest rate possible, they're making very little money. They're probably not good. And like none of them are going to be good, frankly. It's the same as when you hire the listing agent that says, I'll do it for 1%. You're like, oh, that's right. I got a 1%. And the all person always thinks they won. But you or I, as agents that are buyers, look at listings and we can just look at the pictures and the description and be like, that's a 1% listing. I'm going to kill them. They have no idea what they're getting into. The agent's not going to make an effort. It sits on the market forever. I'm going to chew them up and spit them out, and they're going to lose so much more than that 2% that they think that they saved, right? Like on a $400,000 house, 2% is $8,000. It's not nothing, but the amount of money that I'm going to take them for is so much more than $8,000 when it's been sitting on the market forever. And it has, you know what I'm saying, right? So what I'm trying to warn people of is if you play that what's the lowest rate game, which is what everyone's going to do by default, unless they're told this, by nature, you're getting the shadiest, slimiest, least competent, least invested, least experienced people doing their job. And that's the person that's going to screw up collecting the documents they needed, satisfying the underwriting conditions when they were supposed to. They're going to tell you what you want to hear because they have no idea what they're doing. Just like your first day at some job you didn't have, you probably screwed things up too, right? First day that I worked at a restaurant, I'm sure I screwed things up for people. The same thing's happening with a decision as big as your house. Doesn't mean that you should just go throw your money at whoever. At the One Brokerage, our rates are less than the average. Like we are cheaper than the majority of people, and we are very, very good, and they have to be held accountable to me or Lindsay, even worse, at dinner time, right? So I think we have like by far the best gig in town to use, which is why I'm comfortable coming here and exposing this stuff and pulling back the curtain and sharing what goes on, because the average person listening to this, the average agent that's out there working their butt off to try to sell homes has no idea what's happening to their clients when they're not paying attention.
100%. Yeah. Quick question in here. What's the difference between a loan officer and an underwriter? Think of the loan officer as like the lawyer or attorney and the underwriter as the judge, right? You present your case, you present all the documents, you present everything into the underwriter. The underwriter makes a decision, is the loan approved or not? So loan officer sends over everything to the underwriter. Underwriter says, yes, the loan's approved or approved, but we need more conditions or we need more explanations. We need more bank statements, whatever it might be. And so the loan officer is advocating for the client on their behalf, trying to get the loan. The underwriter is the one looking at the guidelines, looking at the laws, seeing if everything checks out and if the loan is actually approved or not. So loan officer will pre-approve you. The underwriter will be the one to actually approve your loan. So,
and in many cases, the loan officer is the person talking to you as the borrower, the client. The underwriter is representing the source of the money that's going to fund your loan. So you come to us at the One Brokerage, you get a loan officer that's going to talk to you, collect your documentation. They're going to submit that to the lender that actually has the money, that says, make sure all this stuff is good before we give them the money. The underwriter represents them. They're like, hey, this person said they have all these things. This is their debt to income ratio. This is their credit score. This is how much they make at work. This is all the debt they currently owe. I've verified it's good. So that they sort of work for the lender. The loan officer works for you, the borrower, to get the underwriter to say, okay, we're good. You can send the money. They work for different people in it and they do different jobs, but they work together, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
Great.
So hopefully that was helpful.
I don't think I've ever seen a video ever where somebody brought out loan estimate, showed you what it says, showed you two different ones, and walked you through what to look for, then pointed out here are common ways that people can steal from you. So if you guys know a real estate agent, please just send them this video on YouTube and be like, hey, David Green asked me to send you this. They will love you for it. They don't hear this stuff at all. If you're listening to this video right now, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get notified when new content comes out, and make sure you leave a comment as you're listening so the YouTube algorithm knows that you like this and you want to hear more information. Kelly Rachel says, this is extremely helpful. She is an agent in Las Vegas and a very diligent one. So thank you for that, Kelly. Cynthia says, what are your thoughts on Oceanside, California? As a Southern Californian, Lindsay, what are your thoughts on Oceanside?
It's great. You can still get affordable houses. It's a great rental market. A lot of people are doing midterm rentals there. I think you can still short-term rental in that area too. So kind of while you can, might be a good idea to look into doing short-term rentals if you have a house hack or a second unit in there. But it's beautiful. You're right there on the cusp of like San Diego and Orange County. So real desirable, real accessible, not too overpriced. We have clients looking in there and we've sold houses there. So reach out to me if there's anything we can do to help you get something in Oceanside. It's a great city to invest in.
And if you're a real estate agent listening to this, you should also reach out to Lindsay. She and I teach and coach real estate agents. We're going to be starting a brokerage as soon as we get approval to do so. And Lindsay is going to be the main coach for the entire thing. So if you want more training yourself and you're looking for some affordable options, send Lindsay an email. She'll pass your information on to me. We'll save you in the database. And then when that actually is launched, you'll be notified of it.
Yeah.
Ibith Lopez says, I love this. Thank you. Well, thanks, Abith. We appreciate that. Lindsay, thank you for being awesome. And thanks for giving us some of your time today. I'm sure you're going to jump right back into putting your clients in contracts, saving escrows, talking to agents on the David Green team, trying to get your workouts in, being a mom of 2 kids and being a super wife. So I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me here. Anything you want to share before we go?
No, I'm glad this can get out and help somebody. So yeah, thank you for having me on. Appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.